Hello and welcome to my Altergeist deck profile. Now this is a deck that I don't really have a lot of things to say honestly on. This deck is really straightforward in what it does, which is a really good thing in one hand, but also kind of a disadvantage because of the fact that people will know what to expect when you play Altergeist. However, regardless, the deck is really fun, and I think if you enjoy control decks, this is a really good option for you. But before we jump right into the list, I'm going to remind you the usual thing of, subscribe if you want to help the channel. I really want to try to get to 2,000 till the end of the year, if we will be able to. And if you want to choose the other, deck on the channel from the 4 other options for the end of the week or next week, we'll see depending on my schedule. The options will be at the end of the video. But without further ado, let's jump right into the list itself. Alright, before we jump right into the list, let's talk about the deck price. And for the deck price for Altergeist, the most expensive cards in the deck for the core itself is Seek and Marionetter, which at bare maximum are $2.50 each, so you don't really need to worry about this deck being super expensive if you just want to pick up the cheap cards. However, if you do want to play this deck competitively, you do need to pick up 2 particular cards, which we'll get to them, which by maximum running all 6 copies are like $150 additional, so if you don't have the money specifically, there are also budget alternatives which I will talk about, but I think these 2 cards are very important. But now we're going to jump right into the list itself. So we're starting things off with 3 copies of Multifaker, followed up by 3 copies of Marionetter, 3 copies of Seek, which is my favorite one, 2 copies of Squintelius, whatever her name is, or should I say 2 copies, and then 1 copy of Concuri. I thought I said 3 copies, I'm not really 100% sure, so I corrected myself. Anyway, this is the known 12 lineup of Altergeist. Now, a lot of people will say to me, you can just jump right forward, there's nothing really to discuss about these, but I do want to talk about some of the applications of these cards because there are also particular effects that a lot of people forget about, or specifically don't know about. So first things first, let's talk about Multifaker. Multifaker is pretty much when you activate a trap, you get one of these out of your deck with it, which is really cool. However, the other effect that a lot of people forget about, or should I say new players are also not really aware, is the fact that you turn to activate this effect, you are locked specifically to Altergeist. It's not for the rest of the turn, it's for the turn you activate this effect, you are locked to Altergeist. So if you specifically have a Seek, you cannot turn it into a Linkaribo when you want to activate this effect in the turn, because if you do that, you cannot use Multifaker's effect. So do keep that in mind. This is something that a lot of people make a mistake sometimes. So just to know that, especially new players, because they don't really know the deck that well. As for Marionetter, she's probably your best normal summon. You normal summon her, you get an Altergeist trap, which is really cool. And also she can send herself or any Altergeist card to the graveyard to retrieve, or should I say to special summon any Altergeist monster from your graveyard, except of course from the herself. So you specifically can just send, for example, a Seek to get also a search, and then for example just special summon a Squintelius. It's really cool, it has nice applications, but most of what you care about, normal summon, get a trap. As for Seek, when she's sent to the graveyard, which is mostly the most important one, you're going to get the effect to essentially search an Altergeist monster, search most of the time Multifaker. Or the other effect is, which is really nice, when she's attacking, she can attack directly and then she sends a card from the field to the graveyard. She does target the opponent card, but she doesn't destroy, which is still a very nice benefit. Squintelius is the one that you mostly want to summon with Multifaker. You summon her, she's allowing you to bounce any other Altergeist card, and then you bounce an opponent card, which is really cool. So mostly what you do, like of course you set up with this and this, you bounce the the Multifaker back to your hand for a later use, and this specifically just really good. Also when it's sent to the graveyard, it's allowing you to retrieve an Altergeist card from your graveyard, or should I say Altergeist trap from your graveyard. As for Concuri, which is the final one, she's pretty nice. She's kind of like an interesting effect veiler, battle trap, which is really cool. Specifically, I really like her. Sorry about the glare, but I specifically really like her when I played around Weather Painter. This is the card that I kind of like wanted to maximize on 3-on when I wanted to play with my friend again, but we never really get the chance to play with these decks again. But the point is, this is the card that against some particular other control matchups that especially use spells and traps, you might want to maximize on. Specifically for these matchups, because this specifically lock 3 of their cards, which could be their core cards, so this card is really good, and I love this card. But yeah, that's pretty much does it for your Altergeist monsters. You run the usual 12, but I felt I need to a little bit explain about them. But that's the only monsters that you run in the deck. The rest is, in terms of the monster lineup, is hand traps, which are running 2 Ash, 2 Effect Veiler, and 2 Ghost Ogre. This is the hand trap lineup that I want specifically. You can specifically run hand traps depending on your metagame, your format, your whatever, like, you know, around you. I specifically think right now Ash is not as good as people make it up to be. It's definitely the best generic hand trap, but I felt like I also want the 2 Ogre, because the fact that Ogre is just really, really good and very, very underrated, and destroying cards could be a little bit more beneficial than destroying a search, because you can just get the monster off the field, which is really, really good, or get the continuous spell, whatever, off the field, which is really nice as well. Effect Veiler can just pretty much deal with some pretty much annoying endgame current. For example, like your opponent trying to summon a Dragoon with a Verite Anaconda, you just stop it or something, which is really good. So you want reactive cards and you want different ones, so that's why I decided to run these. If you want to run multiple, you know, or should I say 3 of this and 3 of this, you can cut the Effect Veiler, or 3 of this, 3 of this, and cut this. That's also an option. Or even just run only 3 Ash. That's totally up to you. This works for me. However, I would say this, you want to run a lot of reactive cards because of the fact that you're not always guaranteed going first. So these are the reason why I run a little bit more chunkier hand trap lineup, because we do also run technically impermanence. We'll get to that. Yeah, it's literally you want to have enough number of hand traps, and you can run them however you wish. That does it for the monsters. Now we'll move on to the spells, which the only spell that we run is the most expensive spell, I guess, or should I say card in the entire deck, which is 3 copies of Part of Extravagance. This card is absolutely a must-off if you want to play this in the most, you know, the best way possible. This is like, it's just a must-off. If you want to play this in another deck, like, you know, or should I say, like, you want to make the deck more casual, you don't want to play, like, you don't have the money, you don't play this, you play things like Pot of Desires, or Pot of Duality, or Upstart Gobbling, or whatever combination you see fit. You can also run things like 1-for-1, other stuff like that, but I think Extravagance is absolutely amazing. The fact is that you don't really care about your extra deck that much, and it's just giving you true additional cards, which are very, very important. So Extravagance, really good. There are replacements from it, like I said, Desires, Upstart Goblin, Pot of Duality. These are replacements, but I think this one is definitely the best one out of them. Now for the traps, which is the biggest chunk of the deck. We start things off with 1 Manifestation, 2 Protocol, and then 3 Spooping. These are the Altergeist traps. These are the Altergeist traps you want to run. I've seen some people running maybe 2 Spooping. That's also an option, but I think 3 Spooping is actually really, really important, because 3 Spooping allowing you to get into your multi-faker, which is really, really, really important. This allowing you to shuffle any one of your 15 Altergeist cards, technically 15, because you also count this as 2 off and this as 1 off, so it's technically 15 names. Obviously, you're not going to shuffle your multi-faker to search another card, but this is allowing you to have, like, in theory, 15 cards to shuffle through for whatever you specifically want to, from the field or from your hand. So sometimes, what you usually do, obviously, because you need the cards in your hand or you already set them on the field, you normal summon the Marionetter set a trap. You also have this in your hand, or should I say, like, you set this with this, you then use the effect of this to shuffle the Marionetter back into your deck, and then you search the multi-faker. That's mostly how you use this, which is really, really cool about these. But yeah, you want to maximize on this because it doesn't have the name Altergeist. If it had the name Altergeist, I probably would say you might even want to run 2 copies, but like I said, you don't have the name Altergeist, so you want to maximize on this one. Protocol, giving your monsters protection, and your opponent cannot do anything in regard to their effects. And also giving you the ability to tribute an Altergeist to negate a monster effect, which is really strong. Manifestation is the only card that you want to run as a one-off. It's a card that I've seen some people debate that you might want to run too, because it's really good. It's a monster reborn for the Altergeist in the lineup. You can special summon the Altergeist in attack position, and equip it with this card, so you can also summon the Lynx, which is really cool. And it's also you can banish this from your graveyard to target 1 Altergeist trap in your graveyard and add it to your hand, which is really, really nice as well. But mostly, you only need the 1 copy because it's mostly, you don't even go into this. But one thing that I really like to do with this is using this and this, because one of the most coolest combinations that you can do, you have this in your graveyard, you revive it with this, you can bounce this and one of the opponent cards, this get back to your hand because this is sent to the graveyard, and you get this back to your hand. So you have kind of like an interesting loop with these. But like you only need the one. Obviously, you can run the second one, but I really like the loop that these two create with each other, which is really nice as well. So I really like that. But these are the Altergeist traps. As for the rest of the traps, the only hand traps that I think like is important, but I do proxy, which I'm going to say right now why. It's 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. This one I proxy because I do plan on ordering the premium gold one. I just didn't really get to it, but it should like arrive for me as well pretty soon. And I'm only, for anybody who's new to the channel, I only proxy cards when I think they're absolutely important and where they're supposed to get to me, but I didn't really get them yet. So for anybody who's asking, that's the reason why I'm doing that. So Infinite Impermanence is a card I do plan to order. Also, I think it's absolutely important in the deck regardless. But if you don't have the money for this, this can be any other hand trap. Like Effect Valor is not a bad option, but this giving you additional capabilities because of the fact Multi-Faker love traps, and this is a trap, and this is a trap that can also activate during your opponent's turn, which is also really good for you. So you can just essentially like activate Infinite Impermanence at the end of their turn, get the Multi-Faker proc, and then special summon it and get what you need to just start your board. It's really good. I think Infinite Impermanence is really powerful. Evenly Match is also a really good card, but it's really depend on what you want. So Infinite Impermanence, in my opinion, is the must-off, but you can do whatever you want. And like I said, I do plan to get it pretty soon. Then for the rest of the traps, 3 Compulse, 3 Judgment, 3 Strike, and then the 1 Imperial Order. This is a lineup of traps that I decided to go with. If you want to run something else, you're more than welcome to. But I think these are really crucial and really good. Imperial Order, turn off any traps that, or should I say spells that are really annoying to you. Honestly, the only spells that you have is Infinite Impermanence anyway, so you don't really care about this, and it helps you deal with things like Harpy Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, yada yada. It's just really good for that regard. Storm Strike is a card that a lot of people don't respect, and I really like to use on them when you activate some monster effects, which are really cool. Judgment is also have additional crucial capabilities because of the fact that I should say that backcover removal is even more annoying because of the fact that we also have Harpy Feather Duster now in the format. So yeah. The point is, I think you need to maximize on this one. This one is a little bit debatable, so you can run something else, but this one I think is absolutely important. As for the last one, Compulsive Evacuation Device, I really like this one because of the fact that it just gets rid of the problem and just doesn't leave it with them. Now, of course, you can also run things like Crackdown, the new trap from Phantom Rage. You can run these. I just felt like these are just doing it for me. Obviously, trap lineup is obviously up to you. But that does it pretty much for the main deck. Now we'll move on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're running triple copies of Hextia and 1 copy of Prime Banshee. This is the Altergeist lineup I want to. You can cut this one and run anything else, but I specifically like this one quite a bit. Hextia is your main extra deck monster, so you want to focus on her. She gives you also Spell and Trap Negation, which is really cool. And Prime Banshee is not bad. It's just an additional name here that I thought I should have just in case. Then for your Link ones with Meluseek, 3 Linkaribo, 1 copy of Anima, and 1 copy of Olmirage. I actually want to cut this and have a second Anima. I don't know why it's decided to jump for me. But yeah, second Anima. I think second Anima probably will be better because Olmirage technically doesn't really do anything. And honestly, you just use this for the Meluseek. But yeah, it's totally up to you. Linkaribo is definitely the best one. Anima just punish your opponent, which I really like. And Olmirage is not the worst thing in the world. So I really like these Links ones, and for some reason they decide to play with me and not do the best for their ability in terms of like, you know, not sure, like getting off screen. Anyway, for the last Link monsters, we're running 1 copy of IP, 1 Unicorn, 1 Phoenix, 1 Selene, 1 Ningirsu, the Link version, not Dingirsu, Ningirsu, the first one, and then 1 copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Evermax. Honestly, the rest of the extra deck can be whatever you want. Some people will argue you might want to have 2 Selene, but mostly you don't even get to these cards anyway, so it's like, it really doesn't matter, it's just here for fun, I guess. This one is also really good, could be Access Code, could be Boros Sword, could be whatever you want to. I just like specifically to play here Evermax. The Ningirsu is also really good because the fact that it helps you get rid of Dragoon, which is really cool. Selene, you obviously know what she does. Phoenix and Unicorn, removal and IP is just good with Unicorn. But yeah, these are just mostly just for show, I guess. But that's pretty much does it for the deck profile itself, and now I think it's a good time to jump into the side deck, because side deck is really interesting and it's really dependent on wherever you are, of course, and there are some particular cards that you want to run, but mostly you want to focus on the side deck going second. So now let's jump right into it. Alright, so for side deck for Altergeist, this side deck, like I mentioned before, I think this is mostly kind of like help you going second or against your mirror matches, because this deck is really good going first and can stop a lot of decks in their tracks. But one of the biggest problems is that if you're going second, right, and you don't really have a ways to deal with your opponent. So the side deck is mostly good for helping you going second or against the mirror matches. So for side deck, first things first, I'm going to start off with 3 copies of Gamma and 1 copy of Driver. This is a really good hand trap. Generally, it's giving you a lot of really good capabilities. Another good hand trap is obviously Nibiru, but specifically I'm not putting Nibiru here because I know for some people it's a little bit expensive. So you could run something else, obviously. But I specifically going to have Nibiru, don't worry about it. But just for now, I'm going to not put it here just because it's a little bit expensive for some people. Another really good option for going second, obviously, is Pinkertops. Pinkertops is really good for breaking boards. Just a really good card as a one-off. 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone just to deal with the additional back row annoyance decks. If you deal with another mirror match, going second, you do need Cosmic Cyclone and stuff like that to just like bait things out or get rid of them. It's just really important. 2 copies of Heavy Storm Duster, I think the name is, the trap that like pop back row. This one is also really good against the mirror match because they will try specifically to maybe set before you or something like that. So this just help you have more resources. And even if you're going second, sometimes you're like against the mirror match, you're going to slap the same things and then set traps. And then if yours goes through and they don't use the Kinkuri effect on the right card, you just essentially pop their back row, which is really important. And then for the last 5 cards, honestly, I really like 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. I think Dark Ruler No More is great. Being able to just negate things on the board is really good. And then 2 copies of a Kaiju because of the fact that I do want to... Actually, no, I don't really need a way to go into the X deck. I don't know what I'm thinking on. Kaiju is not really necessary. I think I'm confusing with something else. The last 2 cards I want to run is 2 additional hand traps. Yeah, I'm confusing it with another one. Which I want to run 2 copies of Drawl and Knockbird, because of the fact that sometimes you do need to stop your opponent from searching way too much. So it's like, it's a weird combination, like you have a little bit of your play in your side deck. Obviously, I'm going to say it again, side deck is up to personal preference. You can choose whatever you want to. But that's pretty much does it for the side deck, and then for the deck options for the, next week or, the next time we'll upload a deck profile. And for the deck options, staying the same, Salamangreat is A, Endymion is B, Altergeist is C, and Predator Plants is D if you want to vote for them, and if you haven't voted for them, vote in the comments down below. Endymion is now leading with 3 votes. If you want to essentially see one other deck before it, this is your time to vote it before things will change. But that pretty much does it for the list and does it for the deck profile and for anything. Altergeist, like I said, it's a really sweet deck in terms of control, but it's also a little bit too much straightforward, so people kind of like figured it out already, which could be a little bit of a disadvantage, but it's still very fun regardless. So hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to see more. It's really helped the channel grow. Remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.